Welcome to End Time. Love y'all. Peace. Go get 'em, Nick.
Good evening, all. Welcome to Overtime. There's a number of things to cover. Interesting news day. All right. So what do we have? A number of interesting things going on. We're going to start with the House. Or not the House, sorry, the Congressional Military Appropriations. So Congress has completed, as of Sunday, presumably completed, the National Defense Authorization Act. Now, this is a defense policy bill that has to be reenacted every single year. It often contains pork for any given party, and sometimes has things hidden deep within it. And we noted a couple of interesting things. Now, Johnson has come out in favor of this bill as is, and says he would like to see it signed this week, which is very quickly, suspiciously quickly, and I'm always suspicious when Johnson said he likes anything. The House appears to be for it too. So what's in it? Well, we don't know. I really don't want to quote Nancy Pelosi and say we have to pass the bill to see what's in it, but it's over 1,000 pages and it just dropped on Sunday. But we've discovered a few interesting things buried in it that I think are very important. I almost don't want to mention them because I think the lack of mentioning them by mainstream media is deliberate. Nobody wants Trump to see that these things are in there because nobody wants him to veto this. Now, there's a number of things that I certainly think are worthwhile. There's a 4% increase in pay for the military. There's, let's see if I can find, I don't have the list handy. Let's see, what else was in there? The removal of sanctions in Syria, but it comes with some caveats. According to Johnson, this bill is so important because it does things like guarantee that we remain, quote, the most lethal fighting force in the world and can deter any adversary. We can already do that. It roots out Biden-era wokeism in our military and restores their merit-based promotions and admissions to service academies, prohibits contracts with partisan firms. That's concerning. If true, I'm not sure how much of what Johnson is saying here is true. I haven't seen any evidence of this so far. I've been going through it. There's a lot to cover today. Counters anti-Semitism, halts harmful, unnecessary programs like CRT, DEI, and climate initiatives. This is a military budget bill. It isn't supposed to do any of those things, and that I'm aware of, for the most part, it doesn't. It does strengthen U.S. and Israeli military cooperation in regards to missile defense programs. I'm not a fan of that, even if it's strictly speaking missile defense programs. Israel's committed enough genocide. We shouldn't be working with them on anything. But I see where that comes from. Okay. Expanding counter-drone defenses and new technologies. Smart. Advances Golden Dome and enhances America's nuclear deterrent and new nuclear power technologies. All right. Golden Dome is what we call a sequel. Sequels have become very popular. There's a lot, there's Avengers, then Avengers 2, and so on and so forth. The first part of Golden Dome came out in the 1980s. It was called Star Wars, and it was run by President Ronald Reagan, and the idea was to create a laser in space that could kill anything. And I'm not joking, that was the program. And would shoot down missiles from space, too. It was the Star Wars defense shield. So Golden Dome, for those of you who are of the older generation, it's The Empire Strikes. It's Star Wars 2.0. It is just as likely to succeed, which is to say it's not going to succeed, and the purpose may not be for it to succeed. It certainly wasn't with Star Wars. So I think Trump thinks it can work. But at any rate, okay, that's in there. We know what that is. Fully supported development of National Guard active duty troops at the southwest border to intercept illegal immigrants and drugs. Okay, I understand that. It has nothing to do per se with the nothing that I've seen in this bill has anything to do with what Johnson's talking about. And again, I'm fine with that. Johnson can say whatever the hell he likes. The bill doesn't seem terrible so far. I'm not a fan, but it doesn't seem terrible. Revitalizes American shipbuilding and expands the maritime industrial base, strengthens industrial supply chains. It also limits what we can send to China. We are sending now NVIDIA's second most powerful chip to China. A lot of people have gotten upset about that. One person suggested that basically all future missiles aimed at the United States by China will have NVIDIA components in them. All right. It did included one provision that has caught a lot of flack. In vitro fertilization provision that was in it originally has been stricken. Now, what's interesting is, and this is for all active duty service members, IVF will not be covered. Why? It doesn't say. I haven't found out, and frankly, I've got bigger fish to fry. But if I had to guess, this is more influence of Christian nationalism, and here's why. There's no real reason to cut IVF, especially if you're pro making more red-blooded Americans. Except that IVF as a procedure not necessarily, but usually entails a creation of multiple and fertilization of multiple eggs. And then selective reduction later. Selective reduction is a fancy word of saying what others would call an abortion. Now, these are just of individual cells. I mean, this is it just depends on how many take. They don't know, but they always implant more. In some cases, if a family tries IVF and they discover that 6 eggs took, and they happen to be against abortion, they keep all 6. This ends up with significant complications later on, as the human womb does not actually have enough room for 6. But all that aside, my suspicion is that the IVF provision removed, and everybody is talking about that. What nobody seems to be talking about is the thing. No, one person's talking about it, which is that this enshrines that the U.S. will remain a supportive member of NATO, of the EU, at least somewhat of Ukraine, and will continue to protect the demilitarized zone in South Korea. All of which are pet projects for removal for Trump, and all of which are included in this bill. Marjorie Taylor Greene has said explicitly because of this, she is voting no. Miss Greene, welcome back. It's a pleasure to see you in your old Grinch costume. When you were dressed like Santa, it just something didn't work for me. Welcome. It's good to see you. This bill adds $8 billion to the annual budget. But let's see what has. So there's the restrictions for NVIDIA chips in particular, but other technologies in China. And in the bill specifically bars the President of the United States from removing troops from Europe. This is in the bill. It bars the Defense Department from dropping the number of U.S. forces deployed or permanently stationed in Europe to under 76,000 troops for more than 45 days unless the Pentagon can certify that NATO allies have been consulted and that the drawdown is in America's national security interest. It also blocks the U.S. European commander from giving up the title of NATO Supreme Commander, a move that Trump has been trying to carry out for some time and essentially enshrines the U.S. leader as now I had thought that they rotate out amongst the countries, but all of the NATO commanders that I'm aware of have all been Americans. So it may be that whoever is European command ends up also getting the title of NATO Supreme Command. Wish we had Hodges on, I could ask him. At any rate, that's a big enchilada if you're the president, because it's explicitly reducing what he can do with the Pentagon. Now, we have already pulled out 14,000 troops that I believe were in some European base near Romania. I was trying to find that, and then Illinois just popped up. And part of the reason that this is in the bill is presumably to reassure our allies that despite the fact we have an insane man in the White House, we are not going to abandon our NATO obligations. It also enshrines $400 million for this year and $400 million next year for Ukraine. Presumably, Trump cannot withhold that. Now, I say presumably because by law there is an act that says that the executive branch is not allowed to withhold money that has been appropriated by Congress, and Trump has ignored that so many times. The last president to ignore that got slapped down so hard, and they ignored it once. Trump is ignoring that. Obama tried it, got nowhere. Trump pretends like that law was written in crayon. Just doesn't care. He has withheld so much money from so many organizations, but all the organizations that the Republicans in Congress want gone. What they don't realize is when it's the ones that they want, they've already given tacit approval. Silence implies consent by them not standing up for him removing the programs they don't want. When he starts removing the ones they do, they don't have a leg to stand on. And what the Supreme Court's going to say is, well, golly gee whiz, why weren't you protesting this earlier if it's illegal? Oh, well, because even though it was illegal, we didn't mind when it was happening to Democrats. Yeah, that's not a defense. It also bars the Pentagon from any equipment that has already been reserved for Ukraine may not be withdrawn unless the Pentagon can show it has a pressing national need, an immediate national need for that equipment. What that means is unless we're at war, the Pentagon cannot take back what we have already set aside for Ukraine. Now, the $400,000 is not a lot of money. It's not a lot. Ukraine needs more. But the fact that it's enshrined in the National Defense Authorization Act is seen as many as a sign that the U.S. is trying to say, at least Congress is trying to say, we really do support Ukraine, even if Trump can't make up his mind on the issue. Trump is going to have to accept that there is going to be no peace had because Zelensky, I think it was yesterday, came out and said, we're not giving up land. It's not mine to give up. I can't give it up even if I wanted to, because constitutionally it belongs to the people, so they'd have to vote on it. So I can't, as part of making a deal with anybody, say Russia can keep anything. And by the way, it would be in a violation not only of Ukrainian law, but international law. Russia's not allowed to just come in and take this land. So I think Trump has reached a point where he's aware, no deal. I'd like to get to Zelensky in a minute, now that we've hit that topic, but at least there is some support for Ukraine enshrined into this authorization bill. Again, unless you know it's there, it's really hard to find. Nobody's talking about it. We're also, in the same way that we are not allowed to pull troops from Europe, we are not allowed to pull troops from the border of North Korea and South Korea, and we're not allowed to abandon that position, which Trump has talked about. This is part of the foreign wars going on endlessly. Yeah, that one has been going on for quite some time, but it's called containment, and it's like a virus. Sometimes it's better to just let it stay where it is and, wait until it dies out or figures itself out, and that's what we've done with Kim Jong-un. For better or for worse, that's what we've done. If we'd done that in Afghanistan, I mean, how many lives were we losing a year in Afghanistan? Less than 10 when we pulled out? And it wasn't costing us anything, really, compared to our budget. The troops, it wasn't extra troops. They were getting paid either way. Hazard pay, okay. So the bases were already built. That was Trump's idea. I don't know. Illinois has enacted today a policy that says that nobody may be arrested by local or federal officials for immigration violations in courthouses or within some measure of distance of them. It calls for lawsuits against anyone who violates that and heavy fines against anyone who violates that. Now, we know Trump is going to violate that, so this is unfortunately setting up yet another state versus federal. And where on earth did this is going to be setting up another? Let's see, the bill restricts immigration enforcement even outside of courthouses. The plaintiffs have to be allowed to it's the defendants would have to be allowed to leave the courthouse without fear of being arrested. So the cops can't just wait outside. And anyone who violates it would allow plaintiffs, who are the defendants in the first case, and they're now the plaintiffs, to sue for damages. So they could sue ostensibly the federal government and or individuals. We'll see where that goes. That's just a deliberate thumb in the eye of Trump. Also, an interesting note, as of, I think, last night, Australia has banned all social media for anyone under, I think it's the age of 16, if I recall correctly. It may be 14. Somebody in the live chat may be able to correct me on that one. All social media. It's going to be an interesting experiment. What happens? That's it. It's YouTube, TikTok, texting apps. All of it is banned in Australia as of this moment. 16. It was 16. All right. Thank you. It'll be a nice longitudinal study on what happens when that isn't available. I think human beings certainly develop differently, but whether or not it's better or worse with or without social media, I don't know. Zelensky said I think it was yesterday. No, actually, it was earlier today. That he is ready to hold elections in Ukraine. That is a staggering shift in position and not welcome by most Ukrainians, according to the Ukraine Independent. What he has said in the past is that he really can't hold. He's asked, of anyone who's asked him, why haven't you held elections? Isn't that what a dictator does? Declare martial law. And yeah, that is true. All dictators do that, but not all people who do that are dictators. There are times when it's necessary, like when you're under a full invasion. Nobody's mistaken this for Augusto Pinochet or Maduro or anybody else. And he pointed out, he said, okay, a third of our country has fled. Another third of our country is occupied. They can't vote. and the third that's left is under siege and or fighting actively in a war. How do we hold elections where people are accurately represented under those circumstances? And that's a fair question. It's a convenient question as well, admittedly. But he's right. Russia has been bonking him over the head with that, saying, he's not holding elections, so he's not legitimate, he's not legitimate. You see, he's a dictator, we're going to take the whole country. So he has said, fine. If the US and EU will guarantee security, he would hold elections. He said that he thought it was time for Ukraine to hold an election, and that if security was guaranteed by the European and US partners, elections would be ready in the next 60 to 90 days. Now, that's an interesting move. This is a man who knows how to play chess. That's a very interesting move. He has also signaled that he would consider not even being on the ballot. This would eliminate, ostensibly, any possible claim to illegitimacy. I say ostensibly because when Medvedev won the presidency in Russia, it's like, well, Putin wasn't on the ballot. Yeah, Medvedev is Putin's puppet, was then, is now. But I don't think that's going to be here. It's going to be overseen, and I think all the Western democracies will be satisfied. You'll never satisfy Russia until Kyiv is part of the new USSR, speaking of sequels. So, he's saying, I'm asking now, and stating this openly for the U.S. to help me. Together with our European partners, we can ensure the security that is needed to hold elections. I can tell you what that security is going to be, and it's going to be fair. The U.S. needs to stop the fighting. Call up Russia, say, hey, we're the #1 superpower on the planet. You're going to stop. This is an invasion. You know it. We know it. It's illegal. Stop. Let them hold elections. I don't think Trump's going to do that, but it's fair. It's more than fair. He said, I personally have the will and readiness for this. Zelensky's remarks do mark a significant shift. He has, last I saw, only 22% of Ukrainians support holding elections right now, while 63% of Ukrainians think elections should happen after the war ends. Now, this is how you can tell that this is an actual legit. Even the Ukrainians are like, are you crazy? We can't do elections right now. And I don't think Zelensky wants to do elections, not because he wants to hold on to power, but because he knows it's a bad time. But if that's what it takes for security guarantees from Russia, and that's a small price to pay. That's a fucking leader. And he's willing to not be on the ballot. If the US and EU will step in and stop Russia from stealing everything, even what's nailed down. Anyways, so 60. He is currently the most popular candidate at about 20%. Putin's popularity was higher. He was at 60%. Dropped to about 40. He'd been hovering at about 40% for a while. He's now down to 20%. If the election were held today, he would get 20% of the vote. That's presumably due mostly to the recent scandals pertaining to, the recent corruption scandals. The next closest to him, though, is at 16%. So he ostensibly would still win. He does not have the majority of the vote, but he does have the plurality of it at 20%. And one of the reasons, by the way, I mean, for us, that's a joke. How could so many candidates be? It's because nobody knows who the candidates are. Why does nobody know who the candidates are? Well, because they're in a war zone. That's why you don't. That's why Winston Churchill didn't hold elections. even in a democracy sometimes. Now, we are going to be talking about Venezuela. There's a show coming up on Venezuela. We'll be dropping it once we're done recording it, and it's going to cover what we believe is the genuine intent and purpose, and we've discussed it to some extent, especially on Downtime, of the boat strikes in Venezuela and what the U.S. military is doing there. It may come as a shock to you. It's got absolutely nothing to do with cocaine. And we also have In Time scheduled 9 p.m. Eastern with 𝐒𝐨𝐿𝐴NDRING and myself, so we will be covering, I imagine, some of these topics. Marjorie Taylor Greene has come out and said that we should not be supporting Ukraine. We should not be. She's the only one. She's the only one who seems to know what's in the bill and is coming out against it. But now everyone's pissed at her for being on the. Well, welcome back. The world is starting to feel sane again. Marjorie Taylor Greene is. Wow. All right. Let me quickly check the live chat, and then I think we are done. Oh, we did have. I don't know if Titan dropped it. We've got a link. Greg Terry, who's a friend of the channel, did a piece on this. He knows far more about Ukraine than I do. Let me see here. I can drop the link. I should still have the link. Oh, thank you, Titan. That link is to Greg Terry's video on the Zelensky's just truly remarkable. Yeah, he'll hold elections. I mean, that's the mark of a statesman. He's willing to just give it all up if it means helping his people. That's all he really cares about. In fact, I don't think he really likes being president, to be honest with you. He's good at it, but I don't think he likes it. For obvious reasons. People are trying to kill him, his wife, yada, yada, yada. And everything around him keeps blowing up. All right, so we will see you all, barring, let me quickly check the live chat. A new member from Kimberly, thank you so much for becoming a follower, and we're an independent news channel, so you're supporting independent news, and we really appreciate it. Come check us out on the Discord, too, if you want to keep up with this and a couple other stories we're following. Dunk on You, $20. Been way too busy with work. Trump is brain dead. Slava Ukraine. Yeah. Dorito mentioned earlier, probably our single best show ever. It clocks in, I think, at about 45 seconds long. That's if you don't include the intro and the outro, which it has a full intro, full outro, but the show itself is about 45 seconds long, probably our best ever. It was our report on Donald Trump's COVID results. We're about to have a contender for the #1 show ever. It's just hilarious that Dorito brought that one up last night, because I think we're gonna take a stab at topping it. Anyway, Duncan, you also gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much for that. Jester, 6 months. Damn it, Nick. I know. Everybody was planning on having a good evening, and 𝐒𝐨𝐿𝐴NDRING may or may not know we're streaming, but he's probably sitting there going, are we going to do a show tonight? This wouldn't be the first time that we just went straight from breaking to In Time. But In Time is going to be tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern. That's still several hours away. Renegade Chungus, member 3 months. Just had goat cheese and you're aware that the breaking news, we actually try to have some semblance of dignity. I mean, I know it's my face that's on here, but still. We covered Trump's, we covered the congressional military authorization, which they're going to try to get done in a week. Usually they try to get it done by the end of December. They're going to try to get it done by the end of this week. Johnson is speaking highly of it and saying all sorts of stuff is in the bill that's not in the bill. It's just not in the bill. The press isn't really covering what is in the bill, and I think that's deliberate. And I think everybody is saying, okay, look, Congress wants certain things. Even like a lot of the American people want certain things, and so everybody's just like 𝐋𝐚𝐦𝐚𝐫. And we'll see. I don't know if they have enough for it over. I mean, I haven't seen any numbers from the whip. I've seen nothing. So I don't know if they could pass a veto. I'm not sure that it matters. Once Trump finds out what's in there, he's going to do whatever the hell he wants anyway. But at a minimum, a bill saying that he does not have the ability to withdraw essentially from Europe, doesn't have the ability to draw from Europe, essentially from NATO, is a good thing. So he's not going to like it. But all right, and then Ninjester, $5. This is not cookie money. Totally, absolutely. I totally get it. I mean, I don't need cookie money anyway, because, I eat fruits, vegetables, stuff like that. It's totally not cookie money. Thank you for the non-cookie money. I totally appreciate it. Thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to see. Like I said, we'll be covering Venezuela. Interesting fact. The largest oil reserve that's been proven represents 18% of all the oil in the world. And it's not in the Middle East. It's in Venezuela, which represents 1% of the oil currently being used. That's because Venezuela is in no shape to actually tap that reserve. But if someone should topple the government, come in with contracts from Halliburton. This sounds familiar too. These are all sequels. This was tried. This was tried in Iraq. Oh God. Oh dear. Yeah. And by the way, we've already got an interim Venezuelan president. Venezuela doesn't know it, but like I said, to check it out. We'll have a show on that. Maybe not tonight, because we'll see if downtime runs long. Where will Trump send the Venezuelans after he invades? No, he's going to keep them. He needs slave labor. He's going to need someone to do what they're told. Americans aren't as good at that as he likes. Venezuelans, if they're starving, maybe. How do you starve a Venezuelan, by the way? Well, it's hard to do because they actually get most of their food from fishing. So you'd have to find a way to get them afraid to go out and go fish. Oh, that's interesting. Worth thinking about. All right. Thank you all for joining us. We'll have some more. Please do like and subscribe. And I know I've been talking to people who have not been getting their notifications. My first day on YouTube was on a channel where the first thing they said was, sorry, you didn't get your notifications. I don't know why this hasn't been fixed. Somehow it benefits YouTube that not everybody gets their notifications. I don't know why. Thank you to those who have joined and become members, and come in on the Discord and check out what we do and help us out. And we will see you tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, for In Time with 𝐒𝐨𝐿𝐼𝐴. Have a good night, all.